Welcome to RetroLogic. I'm Sam Wagers, here again with John Cummins and Shannon Eno to talk about some virtual pinball tonight. How are you guys doing?
Good. Doing good.
Doing good. Yeah, we
shifted.
have postponed the Tony Hawk episode. It's still coming. We saw your feedback. That was great. You have more. The good news is you have more time to share your thoughts about Tony Hawk Pro Skater in the community corner on our family-free Discord. Or family-friendly.
No families allowed.
No families. Families may or may not be allowed. Our friendly, free, and active Discord. There we go. That's what it is. Active, friendly, and it is free. Yes,
just
not monetizing.
Free
that
after
stuff.
family, not before.
Yes, something like that. We've got giveaways. We've got contests. We've got. It will be your gateway to the whole RetroLogic family of content, including RetroGroove, all about music, on-topic retro, about one video game per episode, hosted by John, as well as the latest addition to the family, which is Here Comes a New Challenger, which is Mike's game show, who also does Filmlogic, which I've failed to mention before. We're off to a great start here. Who also does Filmlogic, but Mike is also doing a game show called Here Comes a New Challenger about video game trivia. So John and I were actually on the last episode. So if you want to know who is the superior trivia master, you'll have to listen.
If you want to find out who had the questions that were easier.
It's a secret to everyone except John and I and Mike. Or you might even get to be a contestant yourself.
Yeah, he's always looking for contestants.
I think Mike is looking for more contestants. So join in the Discord. All kinds of cool stuff is going on. You never know what's going to happen next.
Mike also does a contest within the Discord weekly.
Yeah.
That is...
Actually, when we were about to record, he was taking bets on who would win.
Yeah.
Too, so
it's not very family of our Discord, but the bets were all meaningless.
That's why we're not family. It was bets for whatever.
Props.
I don't think there was any prize.
Points. There's points.
Yeah, no, I think there were
But the
points
don't
involved.
matter.
Yeah, there were points for his.
There were points
for
involved.
his.
But you
game
couldn't
show.
lose points either, though. So it's not
not
really
gambling,
gambling. You can't lose, right?
It's more of like it's guess
Guess who's
guess
going to
the
win
winner.
for points.
It's a game. That's what we're about here. We're about games. All that said, you can find all of these things, the different podcasts, as well as links to the Discord, and updates on all the content at our website, retrologic.games. And there's a lot going on. A little bit of other housekeeping. I mentioned Here Comes a New Challenger. Also, Mega Monday is back in business. I had my first stream in several months on YouTube of Battle Network 4, picking up right where I left off, which is at the end of playthrough 3, which was a little rough, having not touched the game in a while. But I did finally roll the credits on that last playthrough. So I'm proceeding to post-game stuff because at a minimum, I want to fight base in every one of these games. So that's Battle Network 4, Blue Moon version. And you can catch that on YouTube, ThirdstrongestMole, around 7:30 Eastern time on Monday nights. That's all for me. What's going on with you, John?
So with On Topic Retro, we are finishing up Pokemon X and Y. I believe, tomorrow at midnight, I will stop taking submissions for the Pokedex challenge, which by the time you hear this might already be closed. I apologize. I will put a note in the Discord, though. And you would only had one day to do it anyway if you hadn't started, so I guess it's all right. And then also we'll be doing an episode on that. Sorry. I'm hoping Thursday. I'm going to try to see if I can get enough people gathered around Thursday to do this episode of this week. And then a couple weeks later, we'll be doing Zelda the Minish Cap for the Becoming the Hero series. We're getting down to like the nitty gritty on these. We're getting close. And I will need probably some extra people for Zelda Minish Cap. So if you are a Zelda Minish Cap aficionado or enthusiast, feel free to join Shannon and I to talk Minish Cap. I think there might be one other person that signed up. I can't remember. It wasn't a very popular Zelda game on the sign up sheet.
I still need to play that one.
I think a lot of people missed that game. And
yeah,
so
I can see that.
But it's on NSO now. So if you have NSO, I guess it's on the Plus subscription or whatever. But
still, you can play it. The Plus subscription for a whole year is cheaper than buying the physical game, so you're fine.
That's true.
Then you have a whole year to play it. But yeah, Zelda Minish Cap, that'll be the next Zelda game. And then also I announced last week that I'm going to start up a Substack, which is a website that houses articles, writings, newsletters, things of that nature. And I did, and I got a few things up there. I'm trying to I have a goal to try to put 2 articles up a week. I'm kind of slacking this week, but I'm halfway through an article that I'm hoping to get done, hopefully tomorrow. And it's going to be based on a comment that I heard on Nintendo voice chat about what the most important console is in history. So I'm kind of putting together thoughts on what I think makes the most important console. But there's all kinds of other things that I've already posted on there. Some of them are kind of where I was just testing the formatting. So some of them are kind of reposts of stuff that were on the blog at one point, like reviews. But I'd really like to use this as just something to use as a writing tool and something to put features out there. Because to me, I feel like the blog is less for game reviews and such, and more for just interesting topics that we want to talk about. Sam usually likes to do his developer pieces and stuff like that on there.
Yeah, I would like to do more of those, but they take a lot of time, actually.
Yeah, doing research takes a little bit.
A lot of digging through.
But anyway, yes,
and I always like to be familiar with the games myself as much as possible, which
totally makes sense. You want to have at least some experience with what you're writing about. That's usually hopefully the goal. But anyway, the Substack is launched. It's at RetroLogic, or not RetroLogic, at On Topic Retro at Substack. So if you want to subscribe to that, it's it's free. There's no paying for it. And you'll just get the post through your email, or you can find them on the Substack website or the app. They do have an app. And I also have been trying to put together a template for a weekly newsletter, which I did get one out last Sunday. So we'll see how that works. And I'm also I'm going to request some feedback to see if that's what people want, or if they are looking for something else weekly. Just trying to find a few things to throw together that's a quick read, that some things you might not know. So that's what that's for. I think that's all I got. What do you got on Filmlogic there, Sam?
Yeah, Filmlogic's latest episode is looking at The Mummy's 25th anniversary and Brendan Fraser's mixed career. And then RetroGroove's last episode was Build a Band, 3 MCs and a DJ. So give that a listen if that sounds interesting. Shannon, tell us about Star Wars Dads.
Yeah, Star Wars Dads. So we did get out the first episode, which is kind of our 0 episode. Got that out on May the 4th. so just in time. And new episode should be coming before the end of this week. So look forward to that. It's kind of our official episode 1. But that's just being Bruce and myself, and it's part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. So if you're interested, you can find us anywhere, just about anywhere, as far as I know, where podcasts can be found, and just by searching for the Star Wars Dads. Well, this week we'll be talking about the Tales of the Empire miniseries, or whatever you want to call it, limited series that just dropped on Disney Plus. Be talking about a recent book, and we'll also be talking a little bit about our experiences playing Knights of the Old Republic again recently. So
Nice.
You can look forward to that.
Star Wars.
All right. Well, speaking of playing Knights of the Old Republic, let's talk about what else we've been playing. John, what have you been up to game-wise?
So I've fallen off a few things, and I just reverted back to like what I like to play whenever I'm stuck playing stuff I'm not enjoying at the time, and that's Dragon Quest II. Or really just Dragon Quest games in general, but I recently played through Dragon Quest I sometime last year, I believe. And then I meant to play 2 sometime shortly afterwards, and then kind of never got around to it. So now I'm picking up 2, and I think I'm just going to kind of play Dragon Quest as my side game, or, along with something else modern for a little while. And I'm going to try to go through the series, just one game after another, as far as I can go until I get burnt out. But Dragon Quest II is an interesting one. If people aren't super familiar, there's at least 3 versions of this game that I know of. I guess 4 if you count the cell phone ports that are also on the Switch now, that kind of share artwork. They have pixel backgrounds with 3D assets for the characters and monsters, which is kind of take it or leave it for a lot of Dragon Quest fans. I think we all like the pixel artwork on those games. So
Yeah, classic monster designs.
I did decide this time that even though I do own several copies of the original Dragon Quest II on NES and Famicom and Game Boy, I'm playing the Super Famicom version of Dragon Quest II. That was a 1 and 2 pack cartridge in Japan with an English translation patch. And it's been a journey because I forgot a lot of the things with Dragon Quest II, and I've been trying to use a guide, and based on the fact this is a fan translation, and there's different eras of fan translations for this game, it's kind of hard. Towns are named differently, and continents are named differently, and characters in some ways. So I'm like, sometimes I'm using 2 or 3 guides just to try to figure out what I'm looking for. Even items had different names, different points in time. So this has kind of been a fun one to go back to and have to just figure out all the things that I've forgotten over the years. And you can't just use, it's not just to go to a single guide. And these are all the game facts guides that are all text-based, and trying to, I get to a certain point and I'm like, oh, this isn't the town that I'm in. And then I go to find out that this is the town that I'm supposed to be in, but it's been named 3 different things through different translations. So it's been a ride. And I have been playing. Oh, go ahead, Shannon.
I was gonna say, is there a Super Famicom version of 3?
Yes,
I'm trying to remember.
There's a Super Famicom version of 3. There's not one of 4, and then it goes to 5 and 6.
Right, 5 and 6 were originally on there. Yeah.
Ooh. So the only way to play 4 is NES, Famicom, or
and
DS,
3DS or
DS.
Yeah, DS.
Yep.
and which is a little more of a remake.
Yes. And I believe 4 is not on the Switch. So 4 is, they just did 1 through 3 on the Switch for that. See, we need a pixel remake of Dragon Quest. Like, why are we playing around with Final Fantasy whenever they could be doing this stuff with Dragon Quest? The game that really matters.
That's right. That's right.
But anyway,
well, we're supposed to be getting the HD 2D remake of 3, but
I'm excited.
Eventually,
hopefully, this is the year. Hopefully,
if it comes out this year, I will play it instead of the old version after I finish 2. Mm-hmm. That will be my jump over, and then I will combine a modern game with a classic game, and I'll just be playing that. And then the other game I've still been playing Assassin's Creed. I know I said I was going to put it down, but I went crazy and looted like 50 ships. Like, I did nothing but pirate for probably 2 or 3 hours one day, and got enough materials and gold to upgrade my ship. And now I'm ready to go back and try the mission I got stuck on because my ship was not upgraded enough. I was getting sank as soon as I got started. So hopefully I did enough pirating to be able to move on in the story. If it continues to be that way every time I do a mission, I'm probably not going to play for very much longer, because I've already got 20 hours in and I'm kind of ready to move on from it. I've pirated enough. So who's next?
Shannon, you want to go next?
Sure. For the most part, while I do have some things on my list, I've been mostly playing Fence Builder Real Life Edition at my house.
Fence building simulator.
Yeah, I think that might be a little more fun. So my time has been pretty limited. Between that and this is my busy time of work. So I put in
you're
lots of extra hours right now. Yes. I mean, I teach year round, but it's a different classroom that I teach in during the summer. So we are getting ready to close up the stuff this year. We got less than a month to go, but busy. But I did make some time. I'm still making my way through Unicorn Overlord. Nothing really more to say there other than still very much liking it. I did just come up to a battle that kind of threw me off as a side quest where there's 2 different factions in play, and you can either help one side or the other, or you can basically choose to fight both sides at once and then knock their heads together and tell them to stop, knock it off, and both join you. Mm-hmm. It kind of caught me by surprise because by and large, I haven't had any real big issues getting through any missions, but this one I really had to end up replaying and kind of redoing some of my teams because I was for whatever reason the makeup of the teams I had was just not getting the job working. Done. It just wasn't working, and every now and then you'll just kind of come onto that in the game where it's like, all right, for whatever reason, while this seemed overpowered in one battle, it's just barely doing any damage. Depends on the unit.
Every unit has a counter. Every unit has a unit that counters it. So.
Yep.
I know it can be difficult to do within the mission, but you can undeploy your unit and then adjust them and then redeploy them. Yep. It makes it difficult when you're trying to shake up multiple units at once, because if your other unit that you're wanting to adjust is also out, you have to put them away too.
Right.
It's not impossible to do. I had to do it a few times in the middle of a mission, but
it's also kind of weird, but something you can exploit is you can, as long as you're not in a battle, you can swap equipment freely between everything.
You can swap equipment and positions on the pre-battle. You can try whatever you want.
Yeah, you just can't change who's in a unit.
Yeah, exactly.
Without undeploying,
redeploying,
which is going to cost you valor points too.
Which is is kind of weird because whenever you're going to start a battle and you start swapping around, like you can kind of see the predictive combat
Right.
before you even go into combat. Like you can tell if you move somebody over one side, it's going to adjust how the enemy is going to attack the other person that you're, moved.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you get approached in battle or you go and hit battle, you can't back out of it.
Yeah, no, you
Like,
can't
you
back
have
out of a
to-
battle, no.
No.
But you can adjust how the battle works.
Not like in Fire Emblem where you can be like, oh, that's not going to work, and just completely undo.
Oh yeah, there's no
where you
rewind
move to and everything
Yeah, no,
like that.
there's
There's
no
no
rewind.
rewind. So
Well, you can save mid battle, and
This
load
is
in
true.
You can't
over
save
time.
mid battle, but in this case, though, I'm just like, no, I'm going to restart the battle and revamp, and I got through it then because I knew what to expect a little bit better. that helped a little bit. So anyway, still kind of plugging along, still very much enjoying it. I'm also continuing Four Swords Adventure for the GameCube, putting those up on my YouTube channel. However, it has been probably a week or so. Just haven't had a chance to get any more episodes put up, but hopefully this weekend I'll get some time to do that. And also, speaking of Zelda, I saw that there were the Link to the Past icons on.
And you have to
Nintendo
play
Switch
to get them.
online. You have to play it, which it's my favorite game of all time. So it's not like I was like, oh man, I can't believe I have to.
Do you
play
actually
this.
have to play,
And
or like can you just open the game and then?
I was going to see just open the game, but then I opened the game and just started playing.
That
And
works too.
I had a saved file that was like, I think I had the last 2 dungeons maybe to go, and I ended up just playing through them and beating the game. I love that game. I could play it in my sleep at this point, so it wasn't like it was like a huge time commitment. But yeah, I get drawn in every time. I can't just play that game for a minute. I love it so much. So played that. Like I mentioned earlier, playing some Knights of the Old Republic. I haven't gotten too far in it. I played it when it first came to PC, and I don't mean Steam. I mean like actual CD-ROMs.
Put a disc in.
Put a disc in. That's for the last time the first and only time I've only ever played through it the one time. I really do like the lore that is in there, and so when Bruce
Going
was talking
light
about
side or dark side this time?
well, the first time I went light side. This time I haven't gotten real far enough to really decide one way or the other. But it's basically, for anybody who doesn't really know, it really is Dungeons and Dragons game, just Star Wars skinned. But a lot of the mechanics and the way you set up your characters and stuff really is very close to Dungeons and Dragons. It pretty much takes it right off. Putting your stats together are all the same stats you would see in D&D.
Yep.
But I don't know. I have a hard time going dark side in any kind of game.
You should force yourself one time.
It's just not me. I should
use the force.
Force myself, yes. Use the force, force myself to go dark side. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And then right before the game, I just saw, as of today, as we're recording this, Super Mario Land is finally on NSO.
And Alleyway.
And Alleyway.
Don't sleep on Alleyway.
And yes, don't sleep on Alleyway. It is a great game. And in baseball, but, you know.
Probably the worst version of baseball you can play. Maybe not as
right.
bad as Atari 2600 baseball.
Atari, right.
Or ColecoVision, but it's very
right.
close.
Well, yes. At least your characters look like people. I can give it that compliment. Yeah. Ish.
Still, yeah, not a very good version of baseball. Definitely play Alleyway or Super Mario Land instead.
Yes. So I'll be jumping into those, even though I have them, the original carts. It's just so convenient to just start them up on the Switch. And honestly, I really feel like the Game Boy emulation, which, I mean, it's Game Boy emulation. It's not like it's hard to emulate, but on the Switch is pretty good. And I like the different, the different filters and stuff you can use. So, yep. So I think that's it. Like I said, it sounds like a lot, but it's all a little bit of a lot.
A little bit of everything makes a lot.
That's right.
I feel like I've been playing a lot because things finally slowed down. I got moved in.
Your list would suggest so.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the first thing I plugged in after unpacking was, well, besides the Switch, which was separate, it wasn't like in storage, was the TurboGrafx Mini. So I kind of just sat down with that once I had my game basement game room set up, and played some Blazing Lasers, and that was fun. And I went on from there actually because I was really enjoying the TurboGrafx as well, to go back to East Book 1 and 2, because I'd finished Book 1 some time ago and decided, since I had it plugged in, now was a good time to kind of circle back to Book 2, which I'm pretty close to the end of now, I think. At least like 2/3 of the way through the game or so. I mean, it's not like insanely long. And on topic for our topic tonight, I'd posted this in the Discord. I recently completed the Pokedex in Pokemon Pinball Ruby Sapphire. So that's,
how many Pokemon is that?
Quite it's 201, I think. Wow. I do not have the 3 secret Pokemon. Yeah. I do have Jirachi. Jirachi and Rayquaza are probably the hardest things to get. I do not have the Johto starters, which you can only get with an e-reader card that only released in Japan. They also don't evolve, so there's only three just those. It's just Cyndaquil, Totodile, and
so have you looked for this card?
No, I don't even want to know. I have an e-reader.
I was gonna say.
No.
If you find the card and you don't have an e-reader, I'll let you borrow mine.
Well, the thing is, even if you have the card, you scan it, and now they just have a 1% chance of appearing in place of other Pokemon on the Ruby table only.
Oh, gosh.
So
that's rough. That is rough.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing that. I already got beat those odds to get Latios and Latias.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I'd say Rayquaza probably is the hardest to get, because that requires reaching the bonus a total of, you have to complete the Rayquaza bonus game twice, which involves, to reach it the first time, you have to do the Groudon or Kyogre twice. So that requires reaching the bonus. It's the first time is one bonus game. The second time is either Groudon or Kyogre. The third time, then it loops back. So that's, 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to Kyogre again. 5 to get to Rayquaza, and so it's 10 bonuses.
Yeah, it's
to actually catch Rayquaza.
Pretty crazy. That's a streak.
Yeah, it's if you do it, that's probably your high score. Especially because you get a nice heap of points when you complete it too. Especially if you manage to do it with like the Master Ball for that multiplier. Yep. But yeah, full. That wasn't the last thing I needed though. Actually, Rayquaza and Jirachi. The last thing I had to get was Lileep and Cradily. Just rare encounter on the ocean area in the Ruby table only. But I did it. I hunted down the last couple of those. It was even after the ones in the secret area that you have to like do the travel enough times to actually get to show up. That's where you catch the Regirock, Regice, Registeel. But no, the last thing I needed in my Pokedex was Cradily.
Cradily.
Yeah, I did it, and we'll talk more about Pokemon Pinball.
Because Cradoly's a fossil Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to catch the fossil though, or anything.
No, there's nothing special about them. They just show up.
Randomly show up.
They're pretty rare encounters, but they just show up in specific areas like everything else. And other than that and the TurboGrafx stuff, which did include a little bit of Alien Crush just today when I found out we were going to talk about Pinball. I also played Ufouria 2 on the Switch, which I don't want to say I'm disappointed in, but like I wanted to like this game, and in the end, I feel like it just didn't leave much of an impression at all. Very short, very easy.
I think it just has a lot of hype behind it right now.
Yeah, I do think that this is a case where the easiness and simplicity is kind of holding it back. It does make me ask like who this game is for, because it's like it could be a lot of fun if you're like a little kid, because it's like very simple platforming.
Yeah, but a little kid has never played Ufouria.
Ufouria has a lot of cachet. I like what it does stylistically. It's got kind of like a Yoshi's Woolly World kind of vibe going.
I think the characters are what are really trying to be pushed.
Yeah, well, and Hebe was being pushed hard back in the day by Sunsoft. I did my write-up on Sunsoft, actually. It was interesting. They kind of like really wanted this to be their Mario, and the variety in that series is insane.
Yeah, Hebereke does a little bit of everything.
The shortest span of time. Like they had like a proto Smash Bros. They had platformers. They had like weird skiing racing games, and yeah, it was nuts. But yeah, I don't know. It does so Ufouria 2 does some interesting things with how it's structured as well, with kind of a Rogue Legacy style of there's different environments and they're generated each time you visit the area. But again, because the actual platforming is just like very basic, it just
doesn't matter how randomized it is.
It just kind of comes and goes, and you're like, okay, yeah, I don't think I'm going to remember this game several years from now. But it wasn't like unpleasant in the least. It was fun enough. I kind of expected more from it. So that's my mini review of Ufouria 2, I guess. That's all I've been playing. So I think it's time for some Prices Retro.
Let's play a different game.
All right. If this is your first time playing Prices Retro, here's how we play. I am going to list off 4 or 5 games. Everyone has to guess how much the total lot is worth. And whoever is closest to the actual value wins that round. And I guess I should specify tiebreakers are determined by whoever has the single closest guess out of all guesses. Everyone has a list. Everyone guesses on each other's list. At the end, the player that wins the most rounds wins the episode. But watch out for our trio of automated competitors who each get their own guess. The Ghost, the Poltergeist, the Ghost, the Robot, Deus Ex Machina, and our Dinosaur debuting this season, who guesses the retail value from back in the day, roughly. And I will go first because I don't usually go first when I'm hosting the show, but I really like this list that I put together quite some time in advance. So I have a whole 5 games this time.
Ooh.
5 thirst-quenching games. And yes, that is an apt descriptor. We are, of course, starting with Cool Spot for the Game Boy. Complete in box.
Oof.
Cool Spot has come up quite a number of times.
Yeah.
But there's different versions of it in different conditions. Second, we have Pepsi Man for the PlayStation. This is a Japan release. Japan only. Also complete in box. Spot Goes to Hollywood for the Sega Saturn. complete in box. The follow-up to Cool Spot. Doesn't get mentioned as much. Kool-Aid Man for the Atari 2600. Also complete in box.
Oh. Okay.
And lastly, Coca-Cola Kid for the Sega Game Gear. And this one is loose. And that is another Japan-only game. So, Japanese Sega Game Gear.
All right, I can guess first. I've got 210.
210.
I'm probably way off. I have no idea the value of some of those complete in box.
I think I'm going to go 325.
325.
Yep.
Okay. So the total is $703.88.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Coca-Cola Kid for the Game Gear, $67.79.
Well, I was almost exact on that one.
Kool-Aid Man for the Atari 2600, $48.04.
Yeah, okay.
Spot Goes to Hollywood for the Sega Saturn, $50. Pepsi Man for the PlayStation, $138.05. And Cool Spot for the Game Boy, complete in box, is $400.
Jeez.
Okay, well, that one, yeah, not even close.
Those Game Boy games complete in box
Yep.
sometimes. It's just crazy.
Well,
so I think
I
John takes it,
I
right?
win it just because I
You're
guessed above the ghost.
You're above the
And
ghost.
the dinosaur was at 210 with MSRP.
Okay. Right,
Yeah.
right with me.
Yeah. And then the robot would have been
He's always
he's in
you
between
two,
us two, so we're not. He's not a factor in this one. All right, who's going next?
I can go next.
Okay.
All right. So, mine is a list of 4 Indiana Jones games. Indiana Jones, always a favorite of mine. I don't know why it popped into my head when I was doing a list, but I thought, yeah, let's do that. So, these 4 games, they are all complete in box, just to make it a little more interesting.
Okay.
So I have Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures for the Super Nintendo, complete in box. Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb for the PS2, complete in box. Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings for the Wii, complete in box. And Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for the Nintendo 64, complete in box.
Let's see. Shannon, you guessed first last time, so I guess I have to guess first this time because otherwise I won't guess first next time on my own list.
I think so.
So I think I'm going to go, let's do 180.
Okay. I'm actually higher than you, which is unusual. I got 230.
All right. Actual price is $396. $396.
Those are a lot more valuable than I thought.
Yeah, the thing with the Indiana Jones games is that they're kind of all over the place in value. I noticed, especially if you're looking at complete in box. So, Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures for the Super Nintendo is $70. Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb for PS2 complete in box is a whopping $18. Indiana Jones and the Staff of the Kings, which incidentally is the only one of the games that I have on my list that I actually own, for the Wii is $8.
See, now I'm tracking, but this last one must be way more valuable than
Yep.
I was expecting.
The Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for the Nintendo 64 complete in box, $300.
Oh, good night.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about that one, but I was tracking with the other games. I was like, I know these aren't super valuable, so
yeah, that
was the wild
that's
card.
really the one to kind of throw it off, and even
the Ghost wins that one.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing at 300.
Yeah, even with the it's like even a loose copy of that Nintendo 64 one is almost $80.
God.
Which
Wow.
just
I wonder if the game's actually any good or if it just came out at the end of the life or
I don't know. It's been on my list because I would love to get as many of these games or just Indiana Jones games in general. Just because of my love for the franchise. But yeah, oosh, that one's a bit much.
It's funny, the magic number for the Dino ended up at 210 again. Even with a different assortment of games. So
that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right, so the Ghost just got that one.
So it's me and the Ghost. One of you guys can tie it up, or the Ghost can take it.
There we go.
Here's my list. This fits in with the show's topic today, since I just made my list and it was on the mind. Game 1, Extreme Pinball for the PlayStation, complete in box. The second game is Kirby's Pinball Land for the Game Boy, complete in box. The third game is Alien Crush for the TurboGrafx 16, complete in box. And the fourth game is Galactic Pinball for the Virtual Boy, complete in box.
Ooh, boy. It's my turn to go first, isn't it?
Yes.
This has got to be high. I'm going to go 670.
670.
You're definitely going higher than I did, and now I'm second guessing myself. I also thought it would be high, but I did 480.
Okay, 480. So the total value of my list is $212.81.
No.
Oh wow.
So the monster team wins.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
So actually the
Dino's
Dino,
closest
the Dino
on
got
that
it
one,
at
yeah.
190.
It was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, that's crazy. The Dino wins his first one, but since they all act as a team, they win the whole dang game. So the rundown for mine is Extreme Pinball, complete in box for the PlayStation, is $7.23. Kirby's Pinball Land for the Game Boy, complete in box, $55. Alien Crush
Okay.
for the TurboGrafx 16, complete in box, $89.25. It's a very cheap.
I don't even believe that.
Very cheap TurboGrafx
I've
game.
checked some TurboGrafx games lately, and there's a lot of them you cannot find the charting price for.
Oh, yeah.
At least online.
This one's there.
Yeah.
The last game is
I was way under.
Galactic Pinball for the Virtual Boy, complete in box, $61.33.
So, all right, it's the TurboGrafx one that got me because I went way high for that.
Well, I guess really high on Kirby as well, just because
It's a Game Boy.
a Game Boy game, complete in box.
Yeah.
Even the Virtual Boy
Every
game,
piece
I'm
of
surprised,
boxes
is
Game Boy
$60. I have Galactic
Pinball is
loose.
generally not expensive. But
Yeah, but on
I
niche hardware,
Yeah.
sometimes they're expensive just due to being on that hardware. So,
Yeah. Well done, Monster Team.
yep, they took it.
We'll get you next time.
I'm just going to call them Rampage.
Do we have a Rampage?
I like the
There
team
you go,
name.
Team Rampage.
Team name
Rampage.
Rampage.
Except we have a ghost instead of a rat.
And we don't have a lizard. We have a robot instead of a lizard.
Well,
Still though,
we have a dinosaur. He's like a lizard.
oh, that's true. Instead of Kong, then.
Yeah, instead of a gorilla.
Yeah.
Instead of George.
All right, trivia card. Ooh. I can tell you that I would not have known either one of these questions, but good luck.
That's
to the
encouraging.
both of you.
Yep.
In Team Fortress 2, what do the acronyms of the red and blue team stand for?
Oh, no idea.
What are the acronyms? Does it say?
So red is RED and blue is BLU. So that's actually a pretty good question.
Yeah, I don't remember. I played Team Fortress 2. I've got nothing.
You're ahead of me there.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I just always, knew it was red and blue team.
Yes, this is Reliable Excavation and Demolition and Builders League United.
Oh gosh, yeah, I would have never guessed.
Okay.
Yep.
Now
All right,
you
let's
know.
try the next one. In what year was South Park: The Stick of Truth released? You might be able to at least get pretty close on this.
Which one
Based
is
on the
that?
What year was the Stick of Truth released?
Yeah, that was the second of them. I believe, right? The Fractured But Whole
No,
is
Stick of Truth's the first game.
Oh, I got them reversed.
Fractured
Okay.
But Whole is the second game. Stick of
Okay.
Truth was a PS3 game. So 2011?
Sure. Let's go with that.
You're just a few years off. 2014.
14, okay.
14.
I know it was on PS3. So I guess it was
Not that
a
long ago.
cross-gen game, PS3, PS4.
Guess it's just 10th anniversary, though. So it is retro.
Yeah, it is. That is weird that they,
Well,
because I'm sure those cards were made last year.
we whiffed on trivia, and the Monsters won Price.
Yeah, we're doing
retro,
horrible.
So
It's not our night.
not at the top of our game tonight.
That's right.
But maybe we'll be at the top of our pinball game.
Ooh.
Or some pinball.
As long as you're not the bottom of the pinball
when
table.
we get to our
you're
show
all right.
topic. So we'll discuss that after a little break. All right. Well, welcome back. It is finally time to talk about some pinball. I've put together just a list of kind of notable video pinball games. We'll probably have some more to say about those along the way, but I guess when that topic comes up, not just pinball generally, but pinball video games, what do you guys think of first?
So it's kind of weird, but the NES pinball was like probably the first one I played that was actual pinball and not a because you have stuff like Arkanoid and Alleyway, I guess, that are derived from pinball. They're kind of, in a sense, they're still pinball like, but they're different. And I played those a lot more. It took me a really long time to get into pinball, and like my dad would take me to play pinball, like on actual pinball machines, quite a bit, because he loved pinball. Like, he grew up in the era where pinball was video games, so he was really big. And I mean, I remember him trying to teach me how to, like, use the table, and use your body with the table, and all the techniques. And I just wasn't having it as a kid. I would rather play, the other stuff that was in the arcade. I wanted to play 1942 and play uh, anything else that was in there, even Mario or whatnot, Donkey Kong. But those probably Mario Pinball for the NES is probably the big one that I played the most. And then the rest of these on the list I've tinkered with. I've never been a really huge pinball player, but I do like to dabble. I even have downloaded the Pinball FX on the Switch to try it out and see it, and it's fun for a little while. I do enjoy pinball, but I also like some of these other ones we have that are not quite pinball but are pinball based. And we can talk more about those as we go down the list.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way as John. I never really sought them out in video game form. In if playing real pinball, I enjoy it. I'm also keenly aware that I'm not good at it, and it really is a different skill level. But I mean, it's always a good time, and some of the tables out there are just
gorgeous,
crazy, gorgeous, beautiful. And I would, not hesitate to put a pinball table, find a place for it in my house if given the opportunity. But as far as the video game versions go, I know that I played the NES version. I remember playing that quite a bit. I guess I'd never really considered games like Alleyway and Breakout, those kind of games, to be kind of pinballish, but I guess I can kind of see that. I guess I always thought of those more like single player Pong, but at the same time, because you're kind of bouncing around, I can see that. So I guess if you kind of go kind of adjacent, experience there. I swear that I had a pinball game on Commodore 64, but I can't for the life of me remember anything about it other than just kind of having a vague memory of playing it. I'm sure that there was some pinball game there somewhere.
I do know one we're missing on the list here that I just thought of, but I don't even know the name. But there was one on Microsoft had a pinball game, like just a generic pinball game that
that was
came
pre-installed.
Pre-installed with Windows
95.
And I played it a lot. I played a lot of that pinball.
Yeah. Yep. Because I just remember having a joystick on the Commodore, though, and I feel like I remember trying to figure out what the buttons on the joystick controls
the paddles
of a pinball game. It just seemed kind of weird. I remember you have to like hold down on the joystick to that was like pulling back the.
Yep. That's kind of weird thinking about having a pinball game on like Atari 2600. You only had one button, so maybe left or right on the joystick did paddles. I don't remember. I think we had a pinball
Usually
game.
You only need two, but
right.
Use two joysticks.
I think the if I had to say the ones I played the most are probably Pinball on the NES, Kirby Pinball Land on the Game Boy. That was one of those games that I have that I don't remember where it came from, but I remember putting a lot of time into that. Actually, I'm pretty sure that I played Kirby's Pinball Land before I even played a Kirby game proper.
That's probably okay.
So that was if I remember correctly, Kirby Pinball Land was actually my introduction to. I mean, I knew who Kirby was. I kind of see it, but that was my introduction to actually playing Kirby games. And then more recently, and I put it in the list here, but some Star Wars Pinball for virtual reality. But the rest of these, I've played a few here and there, but and like I said, I enjoy them, but I don't usually put a ton of time into them.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Kind of the same across all three of us, I guess. It's something I haven't paid a lot of attention to. Just pinball generally, not something I had a lot of familiarity with for a long time. But recently, I've started getting more out of it, I guess. And some of it is like once you build up some of the baseline skill and can actually aim the ball somewhat, broadly speaking, at least, where try to hit something on purpose and actually do it every now and then. I had mentioned on the show before, but a while back I had the opportunity to visit the Galloping Ghost arcade in the Chicago area, and they do have quite a pinball section as well. It's down the street from the main area, and their pinball selection's nowhere near as extensive as their arcade games. But I figured to make the most out of that trip, I would go ahead and check out the pinball. So I reserved time, pulled myself out of the arcade, which was hard enough to do, to go down the street to the pinball section before everything closed. And I had a lot of fun there, actually. And one of the things that did stand out to me was the Bally Fireball. That is a classic pinball machine.
Yep.
A very old one, compared to a lot of the other stuff there. But like, I played it and I'm like, I get it. Like, this is just really well designed, and even compared to a lot of the more modern stuff that has a lot more impressive effects, there's something about how just immediate everything is there, where it's like there's no like elaborate, Godzilla's gonna knock the building over now that you put this in, but like it's just like pure simple fun. And it does kind of bring up the question, when you go to video games from that, there's a lot of differences on both ends of that, because one is the aspects of simulating the ball physics, which even in modern pinball games is still kind of tricky to get perfectly right.
Yeah, it's usually not quite there.
Right. And then there's the other side of it is things that would be really impressive on an actual pinball machine aren't really going to impress in a video game. But you can do a lot more mechanically with the pinball. And I think that's why, like, a lot of what kind of got me to pay more attention is the stuff that's way more video gamey. Stuff like Odama, stuff like Yoku's Island Express. That's like, we're going to take pinball elements and put them in a different genre of video game, basically, and just kind of mash genres together. And I love genre mashups anyway. And you guys know I love Odama, so
yeah,
that really is kind of what kickstarted a lot of my more recent interest in pinball. Was probably Odama, and then more pure pinball kind of stuff like Pokemon obviously stuck with me a while. I think Pokemon Pinball had a real stroke of genius in that it gives you a secondary objective, which is that Pokedex.
Yeah.
Instead of just trying to get a high score. Because I think that's why you drop off so fast with a lot of these games, is once you've got a pretty good high score, you're not very likely to beat it when you start a new game. And it just feels bad to like play 30 minutes of pinball
and not get there again.
And then fall short of your high score, right? But like with Pokemon Pinball, you're like, okay, I may not, you lose one ball and you get 3. And you're like, I may not beat my high score this time, but I might still catch new Pokemon. I'm actually very, like, we did an episode on canceled games. I really would have liked to see the Pokemon Pinball Diamond Pearl that got canceled, because it seemed like they were doing some even more interesting stuff with that.
So at Galloping Ghost, is their pinball machine set up to be free to play, like as part of the?
Yeah, it's free to play. You basically pay a door charge, pretty much, just like the main arcade, and you can pay up front. It's like you save a little bit of money, and you can pay for pinball and arcade together.
Yeah,
and it's like a couple dollars off.
I like
you
that.
Just show your receipt.
My local retro arcade is pay to play for the arcade machines, but the pinball machines are still quarter based.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them do that. I don't know if it's because like it's I don't know if, the way pinball machines are set up, the coin operating is.
I don't think it should be any different. It's all
It yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame too, because then it doesn't
it pushes you away from the
end
pinball
up.
side.
Yeah, right.
It does.
Because
Like
I
if
want to
that's
spend more
if
time in there,
that's
but I never have just like a roll of quarters to take up there,
Right, right.
So that's what it takes to play pinball in that era.
Well, and even then, when it's like, you're paying for the arcade games, like it's an extra charge,
Right.
Like that's always.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a cheapskate, so.
I don't even. A lot of times for me, it's just ease of access. Like I'm not carrying around a buttload of quarters on me ever. So I mean, I have to remember to take them there. You have to be more purposeful with how you're planning out your arcade trip. If it's a lot of times, if I am going to our retro arcade, it's on a whim. I'm just
Right.
hey kids, you want to go hang out at the arcade or whatever. I guess I just need to start keeping a roll of quarters in my van for arcade trips, but it's always something I've always kind of been disappointed in. I'll sit and play all the arcade games, and I know the pinball's there, but at the same time, it's like they don't have a change machine, and I don't want to go like ask the guy to give me $10 worth of quarters from his till.
Right.
It's kind of a shame because I moved recently away from it, but there was what do you call it? Like a marketplace kind of area close to where I used to live that, they had like different restaurants. A lot of them rotated. I imagine it was pretty cutthroat trying to rent the space and turn a profit in those kind of environments. But there were some pretty good places to eat there too. And the upper floor, there was like seating. But in the last year, they put in a couple arcade games. And among them was actually a Guardians of the Galaxy pinball machine.
Oh, nice.
As well. Which, and it was set to free play. It was just like,
Wow.
if you just want to play pinball, if that gets you to maybe stick around and buy a cup of coffee from someone, then great. So yeah, I'll have to find more places like that, I guess.
Pinball just seems, I know they still make new machines. Like I still kind of keep up with the release of new machines a little bit. It's just a shame that they're not very readily available. Like I don't know where I could go.
Well, just like they still make new arcade games.
Yeah. It's like I don't know where I'm going to go find a new arcade or a new pinball machine. There's not a lot of places, even in my
even
city.
Places that have them probably just get either it's whatever they could find, or maybe they're even banking on the nostalgia.
Okay.
As most arcades, at least here in the U.S., typically are trying to get people on nostalgia. They're not trying to get people on the latest stuff.
Like I know in the last few years they released like a Foo Fighters arcade or a pinball machine, and I was like, I would love to buy that, but I don't have space for it. I know that I wouldn't play it as much as other things, but just as a, there was only so many of them made, and I know I'll probably never see one in the wild, or at least I said that. And then of all places, I think I seen one at I was getting my wife's windows tinted on her car, and this guy had like a small, he had a couple machines in the corner of his waiting room, and they were, but you had to pay to play them, and I didn't have any quarters.
See?
I know, right?
That's the problem.
Every time.
Nobody
we just all need to start carrying
now.
quarters with us everywhere we go.
Always be prepared.
I was like, I can't believe it. My opportunity to play this, and I have no quarters. And like,
I wonder how much modern. I haven't even really checked.
It was like 50 cents.
Modern ones, 50-cent place.
Yeah,
it was like, yeah.
There really is something kind of special about the tactile feel of an actual pinball machine too. But that's not to say that video games don't have advantages besides just the fact that it's a lot more accessible, especially since you look through the list, a lot of these were portable as well. I found this quote interesting from Electronic Gaming Monthly on 1997. This is talking about Devil's Crush. They ranked it 50th in a list of the top 100 games of all time as of 1997. And they said Devil's Crush is the best video pinball game of all time, mainly because it didn't try to be anything like real pinball. And I just find that quote interesting. It's funny because
see
we
their
were
take.
going to do a well, I think I agree quite a bit when it comes to a lot of things like this. I was actually thinking something similar. We were supposed to talk about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and we still will. But when it comes to sports games, I think it's a mistake for sports games to focus on simulating accurately the sport versus just
excuse me,
distill what's fun about it and use that to make a fun video game.
There's a place for both,
and people may disagree.
There's a place for both, but we get stuck too many times with developers just absolutely trying to make a game feel like a simulator, But in reality, a lot of times it's more fun to play like an arcade version of a sports game than it is to play a simulation version of a sports game. Like, of all the times I've ever tried to play Madden, there's something about it that just doesn't connect. Whereas if I'm playing NFL Blitz or, even here recently playing Retro Bowl, it's like, this is fun. Like, I'm not thinking about it too much. I'm not having to learn a playbook. I'm not like doing all these things. Like, I'm just having fun playing sports, like it's supposed to be. And I think pinball can be the same way. I think you get caught up, pinball seems like it's one of those things where there's a gateway to it, and gatekeepers that say, there's not a place for digital pinball because it's not the real thing. And, there's always the mechanical aspect of a real pinball machine that just can't be replicated digitally, which I thought was kind of funny when you mentioned game mechanics in digital pinball games as a defining point whenever pinball machines are like literally mechanical to feel.
Well, yeah.
But
different meaning of the word mechanics.
Different meaning, but no, I agree with you. I think that the less that a digital pinball game is trying to be like real pinball, the better. Like stuff like you were talking about with Pokemon, like you have other objectives to the game that kind of separate it. Or when you're playing Metroid Prime pinball and you're doing the hunts and stuff through that. So they just give you basically the character is shaped like a ball, and that's what they go with. That makes a pinball.
Yeah, I think the most immersive version that actually felt the most similar was the VR. And I was talking before the show, I've kind of discovered that while I think there are some really fun VR games out there, most of them are still not quite where VR, we all want VR to be quite yet. But I will say that VR, Star Wars Pinball is it's very immersive. It does feel like your trigger buttons really do feel like you're tapping alongside. You're holding your hands to the sides of the virtual pinball game, and obviously it's 3-dimensional virtual reality, so everything is kind of coming up right there. And a lot of the newer games and a lot of those, because I think they are based off the Pinball FX series, aren't they? Maybe I'm mistaken about that.
The VR ones?
Yeah, the Star Wars.
I was under that impression, but I couldn't.
I think
confirm.
so.
Yeah, because I know they had a set of tables for Pinball FX that were Star Wars.
Yeah, and I think they're the same ones, only in virtual reality. But and they really try to add in story elements, really, where you really are playing a story. You're given a set of missions. It's not just about getting a high score. I mean, ultimately it is about getting a high score, but also trying to progress through, and you can have different levels of a pinball game, more or less, where you're getting into different parts of the board. But that's at least the one that has felt most real to me, because you got the triggers, and you're getting some feedback through them, some haptic feedback, and so it really does feel pretty immersive.
So which VR do you have?
Quest 2.
Quest 2. There is haptic feedback on the controllers?
It feels like it.
Or is it just vibration?
Maybe it's just a good use of rumble. It could just be a very good use of rumble.
I'm kind of wondering if they have because I know the base version of Pinball FX is free. Like you can get the Williams tables and all that stuff, I think, for free, and then you can add tables later. I wonder if they have it on PS5, and I wonder if you can actually. I wonder if they've integrated the haptic feedback into the gameplay.
Yeah, that could be.
I'm curious now.
Very interesting. Yeah, I don't think the certainly the Quest 2 does not have the haptics of like a PS5 controller.
Yeah,
I'm
sure
it's just really good use of rumble. But it's good enough for me. And that one you can actually, by getting high scores, you can unlock like collectibles for the virtual room that you're in that are all Star Wars based. So being a Star Wars fan, it's a lot of fun.
I'm going to be looking at that after we get out of here.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it is interesting too, though, that, and maybe it's just because of the nature of the video game versions, right? That they can add more to it, more gameplay mechanics, so to speak, like kind of like Sam was talking about, where like in Pokemon, you're actually able to, capture more Pokemon. And, Kirby, you're actually, there's a set of objectives you're trying to go through. You're trying to get up to new screens. A lot of these games.
Notwithstanding, there's one thing most of them will even do is they'll just have bonus rooms. And you can sort of do that in some pinball machines.
Some of them have like layers.
Yeah, like the old, I forget who makes it. There's one that's like a haunted house, and there's like a mini upside down table that you can sink into inside. That one's pretty cool.
Yeah, so things like that, and I think that you can't really do a whole lot of that kind of stuff even with the more modern pinball. Like, there's only so much space you can get, but when you're doing a video game version, you have a lot more option to add in those things, and it kind of adds to some more replayability instead of just being a high score chase.
Right. And let alone you can have, little enemy alien things walking around, running around, shooting things at you. There might be ways to do that, I suppose, on an actual table, but
do either of you guys play Revenge of the Gator on the Game Boy?
I have not. It's one I've thought about. It's come pretty well recommended. I played
it a little bit. It's pretty good.
It's a pedigree. It's a HAL game, right?
Yes. It's one of those where, like, when I originally bought it, I had no idea what it was. I didn't know that it was a pinball game. I thought it was going to be like a platformer with a alligator,
Confused it with Tailgater.
Confused it with Tailgater, I guess, in my own confusion. But after I did pick it up and I did play it, it's pretty fun.
Might have to add it to my list.
It's not expensive.
See
by any means.
If I ever see it, go ahead and pick it up then. Unfortunately, though, not all pinball games of our favorite mascots or games have worked out as well. I know we have a few listed here: Pac-Man Pinball Advance, Mario Pinball Land. Some of them do it better than others.
Mario Pinball Land was definitely a missed opportunity. I did not enjoy that game at all.
It really stands out too because Nintendo has made some of the very best pinball spin-offs. I think
that game feels rushed.
I put on the list anyway. between Kirby, Pokemon, Metroid Prime. They're at the top of the game, and then their flagship mascot Mario just gets done dirty. It really is quite sad.
Well,
but
it like doesn't make
Pinball-
sense because Kirby's Pinball Land came out, before on the Game Boy. And it was like perfect almost. And then they
knew how to do it.
Mario Pinball Land's on GBA and it can't quite perform.
Yeah.
Well, and
it's just not very fun. It's kind of boring,
Yep.
In my opinion, anyway. Yeah.
Pinball spin-offs were just one of the things that it was like, that was just what you did. Like if you had a franchise, it's like back in the day, like almost everything was getting like a puzzle battle spin-off too. Like those were big. You don't see those anymore. But it does raise the question, supposing that was still something that happened, that we got pinball spin-offs of all our favorite franchises. Are there any that you would like to see that come to mind?
I was thinking that a well-done Donkey Kong pinball game could be a lot of fun.
Where you're getting shot out of a barrel.
Out of barrels. Yeah. Yep. I mean, it just kind of lends itself to that. Another one that kind of popped into my head was like a Star Fox. Something could be fun with Star Fox, kind of like some of the Star Wars themed tables, but Star Fox instead.
I want a Bomberman pinball game.
Oh, that would be
kind of
could be really interesting.
Yeah.
If you actually work the bombs into it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I think it'd be really cool.
If you could just set bombs.
Yeah, as you're going, you could set bombs in spots and open up new areas. Yep. Ooh, that could be a lot of fun.
I mean, I don't know how we didn't get a Zelda pinball game.
Except for what would be the ball? A Goron?
Yeah.
Like, I guess you're rolling as a
Goron Link from Majora's Mask.
Right.
He's kind of round.
Or Tingle.
Because, you could do something, I guess.
Collecting rupees. Opening up different passages. Got to light torches by rolling over them or something like that. Yeah, you could make that work.
Yeah, I'm not sure how a Mega Man pinball would work, but I mean, obviously, it would be Mega Man, so I'd pretty much have to play it.
I mean, they could technically they made Mario into a ball for Mario Pinball. Yeah. He's not normally a ball.
That's true.
That's true. I mean, Kirby was made to be a pinball.
Right.
Well, anything that involves Kirby being a ball is a video game that will be made at some point. So
I'm really surprised that they haven't made like a basketball game with Mario characters and like Kirby is just the ball. If it's basketball or whatever they're playing. He should have been a ball option for strikers.
That would have been interesting. It might have helped.
I do think if Nintendo's not also on the Capcom train, if Nintendo isn't going to make another Pokemon, Capcom could step in and make a Monster Hunter pinball that I think could borrow some of Pokemon Pinball's ideas.
Yeah.
Just with different monsters appearing, or I don't know if you could, carve up a Rathalos and stick its tail spikes to your ball to power up or something, but I don't know.
There's got to be
some. Oh, you got to get the you've got to get the cooking meat on a spit mini game in there.
Yeah, somehow
like hit something, stop the meat at the right time, and it's well done. So tasty. You got to put that in there. Monster Hunter pinball, do it.
I say we could do. We need a Dragon Quest pinball too. You just use the slime as a ball.
Yep.
Now there is a game for the NES. I haven't played it, called Pinball Quest.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't know a whole lot.
It's not related.
Yeah. No, but it presents itself at least as kind of like a pinball RPG.
Yeah.
My understanding is that it's kind of just sort of 6 different pinball levels with some numbers that go up. But
was that released here in the States?
I think
I'm
so.
not familiar
Yeah.
with that one.
Another one we missed is a modern game that has pinball mechanics is Creature in the Well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd forgotten about that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all kinds of pinball stuff out there. I do see your note too that it seems like these games were relegated to handhelds. There were definitely more on handheld devices than there are on consoles.
Well, it's a shame too because that we don't. Because with the Switch, we really do have a handheld, and the Switch is capable of switching orientation. Some of the arcade, game ports take advantage of that, but if they could find a way to flip the screen and still use the controls, you could use that.
Yeah, it does almost feel like, the moving to handhelds. Number one, it is kind of a good fit because pinball is something you can play for as long as there's a way to quick save. You can play for any duration, and it's pretty satisfying. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to settle in.
Oh, and it can be known as a quick game.
Get enjoyment out of pinball. But I think there is also maybe a perception that this is a handheld. This is just a little side thing. It's not the main event. And I think with the Switch, even though it is a handheld, the kind of games we get on Switch are full console games.
Yep, they're console games
largely.
Yep.
It's weird too that a lot of what we've seen from Nintendo is they just don't quite seem to be willing to put a lot of time and effort into spin-off type projects as they used to. When it comes to like the Mario sports games,
well, they're all going to other developers.
They feel like they're getting a little rushed out the gate just to hit release. A little thin on content, which is a shame. But I really would like to see a new Pokemon Pinball, or even something else, some other Nintendo franchise, Pikmin Pinball. I don't know. That has potential. But
Pikmin
Pinball, yeah,
that could be fun.
Olimar's the ball.
Yeah, you got to pick up Pikmin along the way, and you can use them somehow. That'd be kind of interesting.
Well, and again, I think when you really, really start to think outside the box with like different video game stuff that you can put in that you couldn't just do on a table, that makes it. Even if they made another Pokemon Pinball, like I think people would go nuts if you had some way to actually use the Pokemon you caught to help you in your game in the future. Like even if it was just a static sprite that just moved and nudged the ball for you every so often. How cool was it just in like Heart Gold, Soul Silver when you could have a little Pokemon follow you around?
That was in.
It would just drive home the catching them all thing too.
Pokemon Yellow, you'd
want to catch your favorite right away. Well, with Pikachu, yeah. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, you could do it with any Pokemon in your lead Pokemon in your party followed you, and people have been wanting that back ever since.
Was that something that was it strictly Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or was that in Gold and Silver?
No, that wasn't in Gold and Silver.
That's what I didn't think it was. Just trying to remember.
You can sort of do it with what do they call it in Scarlet Violet? You can send them out and have them auto battle now. But
that's weird. That's a weird mechanic too.
It is.
It feels weird.
But are there any of these games on the list that you think you might want to pick up? We'd mentioned Revenge of the Gator. The nice thing about pinball games is most of them are pretty cheap. Now, there's a couple exceptions to that rule, which are games I'd like to play if I got a chance. But Revenge of the Gator you can pick up pretty cheap, and it does come pretty well recommended. Another one I've always thought about picking up because it's also not expensive is Dino Land for the Genesis. Part of the reason for that, I never hear anybody talk about this, but I just found out it was made by Wolf Team. So these are the people who made Tales, the whole Tales series, and they made a pinball game before that, back when they were still making other weird stuff like El Viento. So
Yeah.
Huh.
So that would be
I kind of want to check it out. Also, dinosaurs.
That would be the only
Yeah,
one on this
right.
list, other than the VR game and the TurboGrafx games that I don't already own. So
Yeah.
Dino Land would be it for me.
Now, I've played Alien Crush on the Mini.
Yeah.
Devil's Crush is, for a lot of people, like the gold standard of pinball video games. Unfortunately, it's a TurboGrafx game, and it's not a cheap one.
And it's not on the Mini, right?
No, it's not.
You know, I think
I'm not sure why they went with Alien Crush over it, but
one of those games just got a modern port, right?
you're probably thinking of Demon's Tilt.
Or maybe, Demon's Tilt.
Which is a sort of Devil's Crush inspired pinball game that came out.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
A couple of years ago. I actually did play that a little bit because it was on Game Pass for a while. I don't think it is anymore. It was a little bit too much for me, like just like sensory overload type of stuff, which maybe if you play it a while you get used to it, but I moved on pretty fast at that time.
Oh, it was on the Wii and Wii U virtual consoles.
Oh, the Alien Crush one?
No.
Oh, they did. Did they do both?
Devil's Crush was on there.
Huh. I thought I'd seen that there was there was like a WiiWare like Alien Crush
Returns.
Yep. Yeah.
But no, they actually put Devil Crush on the virtual console. So
on the virtual console.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's gone now.
Yeah, we would have had ways to play
anymore.
It.
We need a TurboGrafx NSO. Come on.
Yes.
That could be a potential next thing, because I really don't see.
Since I have the Mini, though, I would much rather see something else, like a Sega Saturn or something.
Right.
Well, that's the thing with like the TurboGrafx is I don't even know who owns like the rights to put.
Should be mostly Konami.
Is it Konami still?
Well, Konami owns Hudson.
Yeah, they
now
took over Hudson.
But yeah, individual games might not. But I mean, if you just wanted to get Bonk and Bomberman and a couple other things.
So I believe wasn't TurboGrafx was Hudson and NEC, I believe.
And NEC, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, maybe we can get maybe they're tired of not making money, and maybe they'll go to Nintendo and say, hey, put my games on the Switch.
But Konami is the one that released the Mini. So however they negotiated releasing those games on there.
Well, I think Konami just has their name on it too. So like they would have to go to Konami to get the games for.
Konami loves their games and back.
Yeah,
catalogs.
Konami totally still makes video. Well, to be fair, they don't make new games, so
right.
And they have licensed out some pretty good collections on the Switch, like Castlevania, Contra, Castlevania Advance.
So maybe I guess there's still some hope.
Yeah,
I'd like to try Metroid Prime Pinball as well, but that's another one that's gotten pricey.
It's good. I was trying to see who. See, it was NEC that put out Devil's Crush.
Yeah.
So, again, whoever owns that, we'll see. I don't know if that was part of it. I don't know if they ever merged with Hudson and then, Konami ended up with everything. I don't even know the history of that. That'd be interesting. Sam, write us a blog or entry on this.
On NEC?
NEC, Hudson, Konami relationship. We need the family tree.
We need to see what I can find out.
Do some investigative
I don't
reporting.
really have any special connections, I just have an internet connection, and
there's I guarantee there's plenty of information out there on how all that went down.
You can find a lot today just with an internet connection, if you're willing to dig too. Internet Archive is a wonderful thing.
I did add it, so I guess we could talk about it a little bit. But did either of you play Sonic Spinball, the Sega pinball game?
So I haven't, but I do. I have the game, but I have not actually played it. When I bought my Genesis, when I finally bought my own Genesis a few years ago, it came with like a handful of games, and Sonic Spinball is one of them. But it's one other than popping it in to see if it worked. I have actually not put any time in, so I can't really speak to it, I guess.
All I know is that the OST for the options menu is pretty much what gives the Sega Genesis its bad reputation for its sound chip.
Yeah.
If you've ever heard any of that.
Apparently I own Sonic Spinball, but I own the Game Gear version. I just had to look. I was like, man, I think I own that on Genesis, but I don't. I have it on Game Gear. So maybe I'll pop that in the old analog pocket and give it a go. You guys have anything else you want to touch on with this before we get out of here?
I'd just say for myself, it's definitely, especially talking about this tonight, I'm like, oh yeah, these games are fun. They're just not the first kind of games I think about when I'm like, oh, I want to play a game. But there's actually a lot of fun to be had. So I'd like to try to get them in my rotation, so to speak, a little more often, I think.
Yeah, it's had me reconsidering, because like I mentioned, like there's a couple of those that they're not even expensive games. I've thought about picking them up, and I usually pass because I'm like, I don't really need another pinball game. Like I pinball's pinball, right? But
I just
there's often more. It will surprise you.
I just recently grabbed the original Pokemon Pinball, and I always pass on that game because it never has the battery cover. And I finally found one that did. And after, 10 years of just randomly looking for games and collecting, I never found one. And then I found two in the same month that had the battery cover. Like just in the wild. I mean, I could eBay it all day, but just at my game store, it was funny. I bought the one, and then I went back like a week or two later, and they had another one. And I was like, where have you guys been holding on to these at?
What games are available on NSO for people to try that are pinball? I'm trying to think.
I don't know if there's any.
I don't.
Isn't NES Pinball on there?
No, Kirby's Pinball Land might be on there.
I thought the NES game was on there. I thought Pokemon Pinball was on there.
Did they?
I'm actually pulling it up right now to double check, because it'd be good so people could, try out some of these.
It was added May 26th. Pinball for the NES.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Sonic Spinball is on the Sega one as well.
Okay, so we do have two.
I don't think Kirby's Pinball Land is on
Kirby's is not.
Okay, well, I lied.
Which is unfortunate.
Kirby's Avalanche and Kirby's Dream Course are there, but
Pokemon Pinball is not on there in any capacity either.
I have Kirby's Pinball Land. It's from the 3DS stuff I bought before that eShop closed down.
So yeah, I guess you have the option of NES Pinball or Sonic Spinball.
Ooh, that's rough.
I could have sworn Pokemon Pinball was on there.
There are zero Pokemon games.
That's true.
I guess Pokemon Snap and Stadium are on there.
Stadium's on there. Stadium and Stadium too.
And there's the card game.
Yes,
Game
on
Boy
the
card
Game
Yeah,
Boy.
the trading card games on there.
Trading card game, yeah.
There's not a whole lot of Pokemon representation there. They need to work on that. I don't know why
Oh, yeah.
for the 3DS we can get, red, blue, and yellow on the, virtual console, but we can't get Pokemon on
Because those were being
anything
sold.
else. Yeah, for $10.
Those
though.
are being sold. Right.
Sell them to me for
Expansion
$10.
pass, something.
It's going to be the
Right.
Pokemon expansion pass, and they're just going to throw all the. But it's going to be $100 extra.
Expansion pass for your expansion pass. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, well, hear me out. Pinball 99.
Yes.
You have 99 players with their own set of flippers.
With the NES pinball
on like
game.
just like a giant convex dome table. And if anybody else's ball goes past your flippers, then you're eliminated.
But it's going to be graphically the NES pinball.
Right.
Why not?
Or Mario Pinball.
Oh gosh, please no.
Mario Pinball Land 99.
Available
Yes.
for a
We picked our
limited
worst
time.
pinball game.
For one day, and then nobody plays it, so it goes off.
That's right.
Oh. All right, I think this is as much as I have on pinball.
I mean, I tried not to talk about Odama too much because I could get going.
Yeah, Odama's the
You
most
could do a whole episode.
unpinball like
It's
pinball
special.
game.
I have.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode. We don't have a lot from the community couch because we had a change of topic, but got some great responses about Tony Hawk. So looking forward to reading those on the next show. And you can still submit your comments there. Tell us what you think about Tony Hawk or memories of the game, all that stuff. We love to hear it.
Or
and
about
we'll read it on the next show.
Or about pinball.
Or about pinball. You can talk about pinball anytime. You can tell us all that we, have tarred and feathered Mario Pinball Land way too much.
And it's actually the greatest
hidden
pinball
gem,
game
and the slander will not be appreciated. That's great. You can do that all on the Discord, RetroLogic. Thank you for listening to the RetroLogic podcast. We are proudly part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. If you like what you hear, you're also welcome to jump into our friendly and 100% non-toxic Discord community. And you can find everything at our website, retrologic.games. Until next time, have a wonderful night.
Bye now.
Goodbye.